Welcome in, everyone. This is our weekly flow recap for the week of 4/7/2025 to 4/11/2025. As always, we're going to look at the full range of the contracts. We're going to just kind of dive into the flow, see what sticks out, all that. Got some good examples this week. Again, it was another volatile week in the market, so the list isn't super big for flow. I'm being very selective on what we're posting, so let's get started here. And for anybody new that's tuning in, I do like to show that everything is posted in real time. I don't edit anything. I don't change any of my I don't edit any posts. Everything's posted in real time. So let's get started here. So first up, we had the 411 CCL 14.5 puts here. Let's go back here to Monday. Oh, sorry. I want to do it this way. So here is our entry. We're going to look at the flow here because this is one of our losing trades. So let's go in here like this. So when we look at the flow here, you can see it does read as a buy. So this is a good example of not all ask side flow is a buy. This one reads like a buy, but I kind of want to show everybody. So obviously right away you can see we have the wider bid asks. That spot is coming in at the ask side. IV pops. IV stays up the entire way. Looks like a opening trade. Looks like they're buying the puts. But when we come and look here, obviously it's a little tougher on this one too because 100% of it's multi-leg and it expired yesterday. Can see these kind of dropped here kind of quick here, and then we had kind of a small pop here. I put the loss at kind of that high at 26, so this would have been a 63% loss for that whale. Again, on my end, I'm not going to let something fall 63%. I have stops in place before that, but we'll mark it at that there because that came down pretty fast there on the day. So that one was one of our losers for the week. And then we will also have another loser right here, the 411.55 puts. We're starting out the video strong, but there's a lot of good winners after this one. So PayPal, this one a little tougher. I'm going to kind of go back here to the 7th, and we're going to look at this intraday because I don't believe this whale carried their full position over. So when we look here at the 7th, we had 1,300 contracts. We'll say 1,400 to make it a little easier. We only had 890 carryover. This whale was only 870 contracts here, so this whale could have carried over. Obviously, we have some other intraday volume here, but this whale I marked. So let's go back to Friday here. So I marked this one, kind of seeing a lot of volume in here on the 8th. I put it at the high end here at 108 for a 36% loss. Kind of hard to tell. They're starting to get a lot of volume. We expired yesterday too. So that was one of our other losing trades there. So let's get to some fun trades now. So Oracle, the 417-120 calls here. So let's look at the flow here, and I want to pull up the net premiums here too. So when I'm looking at the flow here too, and you can see we have a lot of net call premium here, kind of flat put premium here. So on the 7th here, obviously we had that big spike in the net call premium, which stuck out, big dump in the net put premiums. And we look at that raw flow here. Let's come down here and look. So this is a repeated hits descending fill with a little bid side action. So the bid side doesn't always throw anything off. It shouldn't just throw anything off. You can see that IV increasing here, so that's a good sign there. So this bid side to me is still telling me this is opening, and this was actually a little higher here on the fills here, and then this flow coming in a little bit later, about 13 minutes later or so, 8 minutes later or so. And so we can assume this is probably the same person, maybe averaging down here a little bit, but we can see it's a descending fill, and this is why it's considered a descending fill, because you have that spot drop a little bit, but we're still at that ask side, so this is still technically, in my eyes, a buy. Reads as a buy, and obviously you have some smaller little hits there, but that spot comes back up, and we're at the ask here. Let's go back over to the flow. So again, this was our entry here. Can see the clean entry. Majority of that volume carrying over. So again, these hitting the high here actually on Wednesday when we had the big pump at $20 per contract from that 650. So that's a 207.69% return there on those. End phase up next, the 411.52 puts. These expired yesterday. So here we are, 254 is our entry. I like to pull up that premiums here. So again, 7th can see that big spike in that net put premium. Good net put premium there. Not a lot of volume, but again, could see that call volume's flat there, or that call premium's flat. So here's our entry. Let's look at the raw flow here. So nice example right when that flow starts to come in here. Spike in that IV. IV stays up, coming in at the ask. Spots filling in right there at the ask. Again, can just see it's a little wider spread. We're seeing aggression here on these chains. Good sign it's a repeated hit. And when we look at the flow here, these actually made a nice move. 254, we hit our high here on the 9th at 388. Nice little move there. So those hit 52.16%. Again, these expired yesterday. So not really seeing that full volume come out. Well, 678 contracts here. So kind of seeing, let's see, about probably 70 or so there. Another 111 there. Could have seen some slow sizing out in here. Kind of hard to tell. Obviously, you're not seeing that big action there. The 10th looks like it probably had its biggest day there where some came off. And again, these are in the money too, so this whale could have exercised the contracts too. So again, nice little move on that one. That was 255 to 388, and that is a 52.16% gain. Up next we had, whoops, here we go, the Palantir 417.72 calls. Again, nice move on these. Here's our entry at 517. These came up and hit a high on the 9th when we had the big rally that day of 1950. We still stayed up pretty good here. So, I mean, a lot of days with positive premium. Looks like they may have took some profits that same day because we didn't have that full volume carry over into open interest. I do want to look at the premiums here again just to show everybody. So the 7th, obviously seeing a lot of call premium. That put premiums tailing off, a lot of call volume. And then just, yeah, that not that full trade carrying over. So my guess is they could have maybe took some of these off around that 824 or that 799 from that 517 entry. But these did make a really nice move from that 510, which was our entry here. I marked set 517. So that 5 will go 17 to 19.5. That's 277% on there. And I just want to show everybody the flow feed again. We won't look at the flow feed on all of them. I like to kind of hit the nice ones where we can actually read it. So again, you can see when that flow starts to come in, spike in that IV. That spot's coming in right at that ask, just kind of staying up here. Spot's kind of staying there, so again, good sign there. And that was the Palantir, and up next we have the 411 Amazon 165 puts. This one's a little messier, so I kind of want to move over to the day where those came in. So let's go to the 7th. So this was our whale here. Again, kind of looking at that volume. So that 7th, we had 14,000 contracts traded that day. We only had 2,900 contracts carry over. To me, it looks like this whale may have been trying to chase a move that day, because we got filled here at 486, then kind of seen some more volume here throughout the day, about 485. Kind of near those highs of the day where that contract was. To me, this kind of looks like that whale was exiting same day, maybe trying to chase and then just getting out there about break even. So those were about break even I have marked here just because that volume didn't carry over or anything. So up next we have the 516 Baba 85 puts. Let's go back here. So the 7th, this was actually the entry here at 293. Again, just kind of looking at that flow. Again, see that IV spike when it comes in. Wider bid ask, that spot's filling at that ask. Good sign. When we look again, net premiums on the 7th, not a lot of net premiums there, so that kind of, one of my data points not there, not a big deal. So again, looking at that flow, we just looked at that, never mind. So again, 293, hitting that high there on the 9th. Here I've got my, so we came in the 7th. Why is my math not, okay. So it almost looks like they may have sold some of these the same day here, because we had 1,000 contracts. Nope, that's the previous volume here, so 1,000 contracts, most of that carrying over. So, okay, I was just confused a little bit there on my math, but these hitting a high of 470 here on the 9th. So obviously we had that big day, so you can see some big volume spikes there, and not a lot of that volume carrying over, so it kind of looks like they probably took some off in here, especially on the 10th. So those ran from that 294 to 470. That's 59.86%. And then up next, we had one of our really good ones from the week. We had the Nike 411.56 puts. Very nice move on these ones. I'm going to keep it at 7 days. So the 8th here, you can see this was our fill. We'll kind of get on the candle here. Let's pop the results down. So again, another good one. See that spike in that IV. You can see how these are all pretty uniformed, how they're all matching, and they all essentially kind of make a move. Now, it doesn't always happen, but you can see how everything's uniformed on what I'm looking for. So again, higher bid-ask spread. Spots coming in at the ask. IVs popping there. Good sign. And again, at the time, looking at the 7th, 8th, sorry. So 8th, we had that net put premium up, put volumes up. Good sign. And then these actually made a really nice intraday move. So 1, and these came up and ran into close at 404. And you can see this whale sold the same day. So this ask side volume in here, ask side, mid side, and some of that bid was this whale taking profits at about 50%. These did run all the way up to a high of 420 on the day and hit 4 the next day also. These ran same day for 320%. Very nice move on those. So Tesla, again, another good one here. And this one I actually want to zoom in on because this whale exited the same day. So again, very good, clean example here. Here is our whale entry. You can see, and this one was all coming in as pretty much a block trade above the ask. And you can see that big spike in that IV there too. So this is a good, clean, you can assume, opening trade, and it's very aggressive if it's coming in above the ask. So these ran the same day, 58. They came all the way up here and hit 289 on the day. Let's see, I got 291 there on the day from that 58. That's giving us a 401% move on those. And this whale looks to be exiting here at 226. And when we look at this, now let's look at the flow. Let's see if I can have a good example here. So you can see that flow that bid side flow starting to come in towards close. You can see that IV dropping now. When it's bid side, you can see that IV dropping. This is a telltale sign of a sell. Again, not everything at the bid is a sell. Not everything at the ask is a buy. This is why you have to kind of dig into the stuff a little bit. So you can see that IV dropping a little bit here. And then when the big, large amount comes in here, they sold those below the bid. And you can see that IV drop. So this whale sold same day. And how do we know that? Because you can see we had all that volume that same day. Only 900 contracts carried over. So this is a very nice, clean example here of same day entry and exit for this whale. So very good example there. And let's go, we have our 5-9 Neo 3-5 calls. I'm not going to dive super deep. I kind of want to hit those top ones. Those are some really good ones there. So Neo, again, 22 here. These hitting the high on the 10th here at 37, giving us that 68.18% return. Getting clean flow. Can see all that volume still mostly there. Next up, we have the Marvel 5-250 puts. And this one, a little tougher. There's still some time on here. Looks like we're closing about $2.99 here on Friday, so those are down about 32%. CCL, these ones, again, another one where it's down with about 34 days on those. 171 was their fill. Looks like all that volume. Could have had some come off here on the nut. So we had the 9th and then only had about 1,100 contracts carry over. Could have been kind of taking off some here, hard to tell, but majority of that volume's still there. That whale, if the full whale's still in, well, and we're seeing some multi-leg here, so kind of tougher on that one. I'll mark this one down as a loss for us at 120, so 29%, we'll say loss on that one. Real, these ones moved the same day here. So again, 70s your fill. This was the day we had the big spike in the market. These ran all the way up to 110, 115 it looks like, sorry. So that's a 64% intraday move. Looks like that volume's still there with some time on those. Let's see, Baba calls, again, nice little move on these, 345. So we had 1,700 contracts, again, about half of that volume carrying over, so could have saw some volume coming off here about 502, 526. Maybe some more volume here, won't be able to tell till Monday, but these pretty much hitting that high here twice. And our big high here, 810 on the 10th. So that's 134% on those. Then we had the 411.93 PDD puts. Again, nice move on these. We don't know if that whale exercised or what's going on here because these expired yesterday. Not seeing that at bid side candle. This is why I say you got to kind of do your own trades. You can't follow these whales fully because you don't know what they're going to do. Again, here's that flow. See that IV pop when it comes in. We're at the ask. So these moving from that 293 and they actually hit 570 here on the 10th, giving us a 94% max return on those. Then up next we have the 425 Palantir 77 puts. And this one, again, another example of where they took profits that same day here. So let's kind of go in here and look at the 10th. So again here, 2,000 contracts. You see that little volume coming in here. A lot of little volume here throughout the day. These making a nice move that same day. You can see that put premium spiking there pretty much at the high of the day. Not a lot of that volume carrying over into Friday, so we know this whale probably closed their contracts. These running from that 223 to that high of 461 on the day. It's a 106% intraday move. GME, again, nice little move. This one's going to be a little tougher to track. This whale could have sold at 127, not 100% sure. Going to have to see how much of that volume carries over into Monday, but these moving from that original 115 entry to a high of 160 yesterday. It's a 41.59% return. Now we're into Friday's flow, so a lot of this flow didn't fully make its move yet, so going to kind of go through these a little bit quicker. So Marvel, these ones, pop this to one day. So again, there's your flow, 178. Kind of seeing a little action here. Kind of want to see how much of that carries over into Monday, but could have seen some profit taking, but just getting out of the trade here about break even, but we'll have to see on Monday. But I have this closing at 96. So these contracts would be down 46% if that whale is still in. Would have to check this on Monday. MicroStrategy, again, nice little intraday move here, 295 coming up here, hitting 610 on the day. That's 106% intraday move. And again, just kind of looking at the flow here. Just looking at that flow. Let's go over here. So you can see, oh, okay, it's going to kind of glitch a little bit here. Let's see. Let's see. So I'm just looking at that IV. Staying up here, that IV drops a little bit here. But again, you can see we were having that spot coming at the ask. And this is kind of where I'm looking at that overall kind of call premium and see what's going on in the day. You can match market tide with data as well. But again, making a nice move up here. 295 hitting that 610 on the day. That's a 106% intraday move there. Up next, we have the CLF 425.8 calls. These expire this coming week. This whale would be down, let's see, so filled at 35. 36 was the fill actually I got for us. So 36, they closed about 28, so that whale's down about 22% with a week to go on those. RX, again, another whale. Gonna have to see how that volume plays out there. That whale could have got out quick there at 50. We'll have to check that volume or that open interest on Monday. But these contracts would be down roughly from that 45 entry to 36, so 20% on those. The PDD longer 516.95 calls making a good move here. 490 kind of closing about that 593. Actually, we closed at 650. It's telling me at the high of the day, so 32.65% return on those. And Tesla puts here. This one came in, kind of popped a little bit, and then just slowly dropped. Gonna have to see how much of that volume carries over, but seeing some bid side there. I got it at 66, so I'm putting this at a loss here, so that's 48% on those. Then we had some PDD 0-day calls come in. This was our entry, and again, 90 calls. We closed at 90.50, so could have exercised. We don't know. We don't see a big exit or anything. We don't know for sure. But these did make a nice little move. 65, and then it actually popped and hit 83, and then we kind of came down, chopped around that 70. Enough time to secure some profits here. That 70, the low 70s, high 60s. Did kind of drop down here, but we did pop towards the end of the day, 68, and then we actually did hit 75 here at the end of the day. So I put that as a 15.3.8% win there. I didn't put the high there at 83. So our last two MU, again, this one's kind of flat, obviously some time on those. Another week on those, 38, closing down at 35. Those are down 7%. And NVIDIA, the 425.94 puts, again, some time on those. 140 looks like we're about 132. Whales down 5%. So that Friday flow gets a little tougher to kind of diagnose just because we don't know fully what's going on. But that is our flow recap for the week. Again, I like to show everybody, again, everything's posted in real time in StockHub. I don't edit anything. Everything's posted. I like to do these weekly breakdowns, do a couple live streams during the week. If you're interested in joining StockHub or trying unusual whales, I do have a discount code that will be in the description below, and StockHub's link will be in the below as well. Have a great weekend, everyone.